Well, hello. It's been a while since I've posted a video of any sort, which would be part of or a ramification of a laptop crashing and getting a replacement laptop and yada 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 yada. So anyway, I thought I would, given the Christmas holidays and so forth, some people might be wondering what I've been doing with my time a lot this year. And so this may bore you to tears, you may find it interesting, but this is what I've been up to for a good while now this year. So I'm standing in my kitchen, and you may hear as I speak a cave-like sound when I talk. And what that is early reflections and reverb of the sound bouncing around the room. So the sound is emitted as I speak, and each time the sound hits a wall or object, some of the energy is absorbed and some of the energy is reflected. Just kind of like, as we know, light. Light hits a green leaf, right? And the leaf absorbs all of the waveforms and frequencies except the green, which is reflected back to our eyes, and therefore we see the leaf as green. Well, the same kind of thing is happening with sound wave energy as I talk in my square little kitchen with hard floors and hard walls and hard ceilings everywhere. So just to demonstrate this with a hand clap, which is a real good way to check for flutter, echo, you notice the sound continues after I clap my hands, which you all would probably have heard, if you ever sang in the bathroom or something. That's a form of reverb and flutter echo. So that's an introduction to what I'm doing acoustically. And here is my music room. So we'll walk in here. I'll try to make this not too disturbing. And we'll come in here, and you may notice my voice sounds a little different. All I did was walk into a different room. And what's happening now is the sound that's being emitted here is hitting the surfaces that absorb sound and reflect some sound, but less energy than what hit them. Again, kind of like light, they become darker. Like a pure black absorbs all the light that hits it, so nothing comes back to our eyes. So this is a darker sounding room, or deader sounding room. So I'll clap my hands. There's a lot less reflected energy bouncing around the room until the room absorbs the sound wave energy. Now, that's happening at specific frequencies. Just like light, sound waves have different frequencies. So, different color lights have different frequencies that they are traveling or working at, whatever the proper scientific term is. So different things absorb different wavelengths of light and reflect back to our eyes differently with different colors. Like my shirt is reflecting a different color than the black stuff in the back here. So sound waves work much the same way, that different frequencies are absorbed by different materials at different levels and rates. So the idea being, in a recording room, you want to hear what the recording is. You don't really want to hear the room, right? If we were standing in my kitchen, you're hearing my voice and the kitchen. So in this room, you're hearing my voice and the room itself, the difference in acoustical treatment. Okay. So this is not a pro audio thing, this is not a mastering facility, but I have spent a great deal of time and a good deal of my money, given that I'm not a major label guy or anything like this, trying to optimize as best as I can this former garage turned into a den, turned into a music recording room. So I guess that's an introduction a little bit. So here, this gets kind of complicated. Again, if you're bored to tears, move on to a meme or something like that. But I'm going to move things a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit better what we got going on here. Okay. So I hope you can see this. I'll try to point some things out with the yardstick. So the mouse is attached, the mouse tray is attached to the chair here. I don't know if you can see that. Somewhere in there. We have a moving keyboard tray that is adjustable height. So I can move this up and down to whatever height I want. Right? And it's adjustable in angle here, so you can type and do whatever you need to while viewing the monitor back here. Got two sets of reference monitors, this set, the small ones, and the large ones. And what I've done here is started the acoustic treatment of the room, number one, but then, we can focus in on that a little bit. We're looking at some software there on the monitor. And there's a specific microphone pictured here, which has a serial number, which is the serial number of my microphone that I purchased, and which is this device, which is this microphone. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, this microphone is this serial number, and it's a known frequency response. So, I guess you could call this my art and science project. If we go to the next step of this, here is the actual frequency response of that particular microphone. In other words, the people I purchased that microphone from measured the frequency response of the microphone. You can see that it's pretty darn flat up to here and starts boosting the high frequencies and then cuts them and boosts them here. So if you play a perfectly flat set of sine waves in this frequency, right, here's the 0 decibel, this is the loudness, and this is the frequency across here, you can see at approximately 9 kilohertz or thereabouts, 8 kilohertz, that this microphone is more sensitive than it is back here. And that's going to be used to compensate for the microphone. So this software, the way it works, and I won't do the whole calibration, I'll just demonstrate for you, is you select your inputs and outputs.
Please adjust the volume of your output device. My voice should sound at normal conversation volume. Left speaker. Right speaker.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to measure the frequency response of the room and the speakers combined. Okay, so let's try to do this a little bit where you can see me again. So what I'm going to try to do, what this microphone is doing, is going to measure the sound coming out of the speaker, a known sine wave, right, with a known microphone, with an unknown speaker and unknown room. Think of it as algebra or geometry. So we've got two knowns, and we're trying to figure out actually the third unknown, which is the combination or sum of the room plus the speaker. So the sum of the sound of the room plus the sound of the speaker is the unknown that we're trying to measure with the two knowns, if that makes any sense. So what we do, and I'll have to move this so you can see it again. Come back here a little bit. My art and science project. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. I don't know how much you can see because the camera's adjusting to the light. And I'm going to set the microphone at the apex, or actually the listening position that I've chosen. So the speakers that I'm going to measure are set up for a triangular pattern of sound, that measuring perpendicular off that surface, that speaker is going to meet here, and this speaker is going to meet here and make a triangle. This is a listening position that's a little bit forward in that triangle. Sorry if it's hard to see because of the screen. So let's try this and see what the software says to do. So what you heard there, let's minimize this so you can see me a little bit here. Alright, let's go down. Let's eliminate that for now. Okay, so it's not so bright. So what's happening here is you heard various different sounds, alright? You heard sort of like a ticking thing and a clicking thing, and then you heard a sine wave. Whoop, whoop. And so it was a sine wave out the left speaker and a known sine wave out the right speaker. Whoop, like that. And so the microphone, the known frequency response of the microphone is being compared to the known frequency being generated at the same time. Alright? And what that's going to do is determine what the sum of the speaker and the room is together and how they work together to alter the original sound. If that makes any sense. The sine wave is known, and when it's played in the room, the sound is being compared to the known sine wave. And what's going to happen there is compensating the EQ frequency response for the room and the speakers. So let's just take a look here how this works. I won't run through the whole calibration procedure. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what it's like. There's actually 36 measurements being done for one of these. So it's asking me to place this microphone over here, which I'm going to do. And I'm going to click the button to test it.
Stay where you are. Measurements in progress. Left speaker done.
Alright, so we've measured something on the left speaker. Now we're going to measure something on the right speaker.
Stay where you are. Measurements in progress. Right speaker done.
Okay, what's being done there, quite unusually, what's being done there is it's measuring the distance between the left speaker and the right speaker. It's measuring the distance, but it's going to do this with computer software. So the next thing it wants me to do is click Done. And it says that those two speakers are 7 feet 3 inches apart. Okay, so let's take a look here because I'm not real good at math. 7 times 12 plus 3 inches, that's 87 inches. It thinks that they're 87 inches wide. So my next step would be to take a tape measure and measure and see if the center of the cones really is 87 inches apart. And so I have to verify that, which I'm not going to. That's close enough for what we're doing. So I then put the microphone back in its listening position and I say okay. Okay, So what it's saying there is that the distance from this microphone to this speaker is 4 feet 6 inches, and it's 4 feet 6 inches to that. And I would measure that and confirm it and adjust it. So we're going to pretend all that's okay. Yep. All right. So what I'm going to do here is the next step. I'm going to move this out of my way. And what is going to happen here is going to ask me to position the microphone in 36 different positions. 37 different positions. So again, how are you going to be able to see that very well? I'm kind of darken that a little bit. Well, anyway, I'll go ahead and since you can't see it, you'll have to trust me on this. And what I have to do here there's a plot. It's telling me to move the microphone. It says the microphone's right here. Move it to this position. Alright, so I gotta move the microphone. And see, it's going to do this 37 times. It's going to come up with 37 different positions to move the microphone. Okay. Alright, so you get the picture. So I'm going to close the measurements. And what that does is it creates a frequency response of my room. So let's see what it gets. So this frequency response, after 37 measurements, let's go in here. Let's see if you can see it. You can see that after 37 measurements, the right speaker has this frequency response. In other words, at this frequency, the room and the speakers are amplifying the sound. At this frequency, the room plus the speakers are subtracting from the sound. Because the sine wave, if it were measured perfectly, would be a straight line. The frequency response of the sine wave. And if we look at the left speaker, we do this and say, okay, here's the left before. We notice that the left is behaving different than the right. We have two different sine waves. Or two different frequency responses, I should say. And so what's happening here is the software is going to compensate and say we're going to subtract level from here. We're going to add level to here on this speaker, but we're not going to add level to here like this. And the idea being to get as flat a line as possible, so that what the listener is listening to is as close to the original recording as possible. That's the whole purpose of this, is effectively eliminating the addition and subtraction of sound or frequencies from the room plus the speakers. There's some, which means you get it closer to actually hearing the recording instead of the sum of the speakers in the room. So I'm going to lower this like that. Alright, so what I can do then is I'll use another software to check this software. So, and I don't know that you can see it. I'll try this. But on the floor, I have different markings marked on the floor. These are different listening positions so that I can listen in certain known positions. All right. So I know it's audio voodoo. So just for my purposes, I'm going to set this here. I'm going to put this microphone here. And I'm going to do 3 different measurements to check this. All right. So I'm going to bring up this piece of software. And I'm going to check the left speaker. Alright, so I'm going to do that. And notice, whoop, sorry, that's a really nasty looking wave. But it's still better, I mean this is still better than what the room would be without the software. So I'm going to turn the software off and let's try that. Okay. All right. Now notice here, the green lines have increased frequency, low frequencies here. They've got pretty much the same dip here, but increased frequency response here and so forth and so on. So I'm going to measure 3 points with the software on and get an average. We don't need this one right now. I'll delete it. And I'm going to move the microphone over just a couple inches. I'm going to do another measurement. And I'm going to move the microphone just a couple inches to the right again. So I have a left, center, and right. And that looks like a big mess. And then I'm going to take an average of those 3 measurements and turn off the original. So we get an average. All right. The idea that I have here, right, is that our heads, we don't listen to sound at the tip of our nose, right? Our ears are on the sides of our head, not on the tip of our nose. The microphone's measuring as if it's the tip of my nose. But what I'm really hearing is here and here, this distance apart. And moving the microphone 3 places, left, center, right, I think, gives me a better representation of what I'm actually really hearing as opposed to just measuring right here. So there's my average. And you notice the average is flatter. And then when I put in psychoacoustic smoothing, psychoacoustic smoothing is sort of what does the human hear. We've measured what the microphone hears at that point in space, 3 different spaces, right, 3-dimensionally. So I average them and put psychoacoustic smoothing on, and you can see we're pretty flat. If I look here, move this up, the blue line right here would be perfectly flat frequency response, and this vertical line right here, which you probably can't see, is 195 hertz. So I can pinpoint a particular place that has a boost. Say for instance right here, here's a dip at 217 hertz and a peak at 149 hertz. So there is still some effect of the sum of the speakers in the room going on. Alright, so I've done that with both pairs of speakers. So the idea being, okay, we've got that, and if we just listen to some music, I just have to pull something up. let's do this. Okay, probably can't hear it on the micro or the camcorder, but the idea being here that what we're hearing is as close to the recording as I can get. So that if I make adjustments to the sound, then I'm adjusting the recording, not compensating for the room. So let's minimize this again. All right. Sorry for my great big old giant face. So anyway, the idea being is that if you're going to record something, you want to make adjustments to the sound accumulatively, you know, kick, drum, bass guitar, acoustic guitar. You want to make adjustments in the sound and adjustments of the recording, but not be adding the coloration of the room and the speakers. That way, when the recording goes off and somebody else picks up the recording and they put it in their own home stereo or their own earbuds, whatever they may own, we have no idea what they may be listening to. But what we can be more confident of is that whatever that system, and I mean system, the listening environment plus the speakers or earbuds, is going to sound like whatever they sound plus the recording. All right? It doesn't mean the recording is going to sound great. It just means it's going to be more transferable, getting sort of a flatter response so you can take it to different rooms, different cars, different automobiles, different radio stations, and it'll have a wider variety of systems that it can play on and be musical. So, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent doing this. And all I've done, I haven't even hit the record button yet. I haven't even recorded a single solitary track. I don't even have the PC. I spent 6 months just getting this room to be more acoustically flat and the speaker combination so that I have a better chance, a better opportunity, of a more level floor to work from when I do next year get around to recording actual recordings. So, given I'm not a pro audio engineer and I'm not a genius engineer or golden-eared person or anything like that, I need all the help I can get. So, that's what I've been up to. I mean, there's so much stuff in here. Things that you wouldn't think that are significant that really turn out to be, like the speaker stands. Let's take a look here. This speaker stand is steel, and these are 4 steel tubes. You notice what it sounds like when I hit it? You hear me? Solid as a rock. Each tube is filled with cat litter, so there's about 30 pounds of cat litter in that one speaker stand, has spikes that go through the carpet sitting on the concrete, so that is not bolted to the floor, but it's extremely stable. And the speakers themselves have these feet to kind of acoustically isolate them from the stand. And believe it or not, it actually makes the bass frequencies punchier and tighter. I wouldn't even know where to begin here. We got the Neumann over here. This is a nice small little speaker for near field reference. Right? I don't know if you can see that. So there you have it. Now the next phase here is to actually purchase the software device, the computer, and the next step then is to purchase the software. All I've done is try to optimize this room for musical recording. Like I say, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent in here and listening to different recordings and sine waves and not sine, S-I-N-E waves and all that stuff. So anyway, Merry Christmas. Chuck's 2018 in large part. Have fun.